What's up, everybody? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel, and it's time for another album review. This time we're going to be talking about Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I was lucky enough to get a hold of a promo copy earlier today, and I've given it a couple of spins, and I want to start by saying I'm really impressed. I'm really happy with the album. I'm really happy with the direction that they've decided to go. I wish that they would have released this album after the Black Album, and we could have just forgotten about everything that happened between 1991 and today. That's not to say I haven't liked stuff that's come out. I actually did like Load and Reload. I didn't think they were great. They aren't favorites of mine. But there are a bunch of songs on the two albums that I really did like. Honestly, the last two albums I could completely live without. I think Saint Anger is by far their worst album, and it would probably make my top 20 worst albums of all time. And then Death Magnetic was a little bit better, but it was pretty weak in my opinion. They've really redeemed themselves with this album. When I heard Lords of Summer, I believe that was what it was called, a few years ago, I wasn't really looking forward to hearing anything else that they were going to put out. I just wasn't a fan of the song. I didn't like the live version. It just didn't do anything for me. Then earlier this year, Hardwired came out. You can go look at my review. I really dug that song. I wasn't a fan of the lyrics, but the riffing, the music, I just really liked it. And that gave me a little bit of excitement. And then I heard that they were going to release a double album, and that made me nervous again because putting out one really good song that had kind of throwback material definitely made me happy. I was worried that they could pull off a two CDs worth of music of that caliber. And like I said, I'm really surprised with how well they did. You start off with Hardwired and Atlas Rise. Honestly, when I first heard Atlas Rise a few weeks ago, I didn't like it. I really liked the riffing. I really liked the music itself. I didn't like Hetfield's vocals. I've always preferred Hetfield's vocals back in the 80s and early 90s when he had that really gruff, gravelly voice. Since he stopped drinking and smoking, when was it, early 2000s, I think his voice changed. And I didn't like the cleaner voice. It started to grow on me. And I really do like Atlas Rise now. It is one of my favorite songs off the album at this point. From there, we roll into Now That We're Dead, another just killer song. And I'm not going to go over all the songs because I want you to listen to them and experience them for yourselves. But from there, we go to Moth into Flame. Moth into Flame is one of my favorite songs on the album. It starts off kind of slow and just really picks up. It's almost like, almost like One, where, you get that slow beginning and it just kind of builds and builds. And I really dig the dynamics of that. So I really like that song. The 6 songs of the first album, I love them all. Really dig them. The first album is about as perfect as it's going to get for Metallica at this point in their career. Then you roll into the second album. It starts with a song called Confusion. Confusion's a really good song. I really dig the song. And then you get Man Unkind, which is the following song, and that's where it starts to drag a little bit. The riffing is still good, but it just you start noticing it that this is long. Man Unkind, then it goes into Here Comes Revenge, then Am I Savage, then Murder One. They're all decent songs, but honestly, if Metallica would have left all of those songs off of this album, it would have been a perfect album. It's just too much. Maybe they could have released those later on as bonus material, much like what Judas Priest did or Black Sabbath did with the extra material they had. I would have preferred that. And then they end with a song called Spit Out the Bone. Spit Out the Bone is the best song that they've released since probably, oh man, definitely since the Black Album, but it may be the best song that they've released since And Justice for All. It's the only thrash song on this album. just a furious pace, double bass. It's Metallica. It's the Metallica that I remember from the '80s. The Metallica that I grew to love back in the '80s. Unfortunately, it's the only song that's like that. There's almost no double bass, and I'm not saying that you need to have a lot of double bass in an album for it to be metal, but Lars has gotten really lazy with his drumming, and I didn't think he could do it anymore. I didn't think he was able, and Spit Out the Bones proves that he can still do it. It proves that an underlying Metallica is still there, and I would love to hear more of that. It's by far the best song on the album, by far. They need to release that as a single. I would release that in the next week before the album comes out, and they'll sell out like crazy. And it's Metallica; they're going to sell out like crazy anyway. But that should have been the lead-off single. That would have blown everybody's mind. The high points of the album, definitely the riffing. The riffs are amazing on this album. You hear little bits of their entire career. You hear in Spit Out the Bone. You hear that the early riffing from their first couple of albums. There's a couple songs where you hear that more of that chug that you got with the Black Album. Just as a whole, they did a really good job. Like I said, I'm really impressed with this one. There are some low points. Like I said, there's those 3 or 4 songs on the second album they could have just left off. But I'm not going to beat a dead horse with that. Like I said, they're still good songs. It just, at that point in the album, you start to realize how long this album's been going on. And it really does start to drag. And not just that, the length of the songs. Most of the songs are over 6 minutes on this album. A lot of that can be, they could have shaved, a minute or two off of every single one of those songs and made them better. And that leads to the next downside of this album. There's guitar solos from Kirk Hammett on almost every single song, and none of them are impressive. None of them are classic Kirk Hammett. None of these are solos that we're going to remember 10 years from now. Kirk Hammett usually has 1 or 2 really good solos per album. This album, they're all okay, and a couple of them don't even fit the song, in my opinion. That's not to say that I have problems with the guitar. Like I said, the riffing on this album is amazing. Just the solos are just kind of lackluster. It's like he's just kind of calling it in, And then the final issue that I have with this album is they've lost the ability to tell a story. In their first 4 albums, or actually all the way through the Black Album, they told great stories in their songs. I don't really get that anymore, and I haven't for the last few albums, and that's something that I really miss about Metallica. I did like, their more epic songs, their 7-8 minute songs, from Ride the Lightning and from Injustice for All. They were telling a story with those. With these songs, or with this album, the songs are that long, but the story's not there. They towards the end of the song, they do the chorus maybe 2 or 3 times in a row with solos in there, and a lot of that stuff can just be cut off. All this, the positives and the negatives aside, it's a great album. I highly recommend picking it up. I can't wait till my vinyl copy comes in. I can't wait to spin that on the turntable. Like I said, I really did enjoy this album. The biggest issue is those 3 or 4 songs on the second half of the album, which honestly, I'll probably never play. I'll probably spend 90% of the time playing that first disc or that first LP. But make sure you check out Spit Out the Bone. Amazing, amazing song. It's just Metallica at their best, and it proves that they can still do it. On a scale of 10, I give this album an 8 out of 10. Again, highly recommend picking it up. I hope you guys enjoy it. As you hear little bits and pieces of it, leave comments down below. Tell me what you think. Take care, everybody.